Well, welcome to the 700 Club. Pro-lifers have been struggling for this for nearly 50 years, and now the end may be in sight, the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
Abortion supporters argue that the science hasn't changed since 1973. State-of-the-art ultrasound technology is proving they're dead wrong. Charlene Aaron shows us the latest advancements.
While discussing that leaked Supreme Court opinion that signaled a potential end of Roe versus Wade, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made comments regarding abortion that many say highlight just how out of touch her party really is when it comes to the issue of life and the science that supports it.
The science hasn't changed, but the court changed, and therefore they're deciding that it will be different.
Dr. Tara Sander-Lee, director of life sciences at Charlotte Lozier Institute, disagrees with Pelosi, adding the speaker seems unaware of technological advancements since Roe.
For 3 years, she's been telling America to follow the science, but at this moment, she's choosing to ignore the science because it's inconvenient to her extreme political agenda.
Since the 1973 ruling legalizing abortion, ultrasound technology has boomed, providing a window into the womb for millions who now post images of their unborn babies on their refrigerators. According to 40 Days for Life, 93% of women who have ultrasounds choose to keep their babies.
Now in 2022, not only do we have ultrasounds, but we have, 3D ultrasounds. We have ultrasounds where you can really get this beautiful, clear image of a baby growing in the womb.
Christina Bennett, a correspondent with the group Live Action, explains how the internet has also provided a unique view of the unborn.
Live Action has a video called Baby Olivia, which goes through the whole development of a baby. You can just go on YouTube and watch that video. Technology through the internet and through, of course, medical science, even just us understanding that babies can feel pain after 20 weeks, even those things we were not aware of.
Dr. Gracie Christie, a diagnostic radiologist and policy advisor for the Catholic Association, submitted a brief in the key Supreme Court case Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health, describing the science used in Roe as outdated.
We've developed a different appreciation of the humanity of the fetus that we didn't have back then through ultrasound, and my brief has a lot to do with that. We included pictures of unborn babies for the justices, and we were really proud of that because they're so compelling.
At the heart of Roe was the question of when life in the womb begins, an issue Christie and others say is clearly proven by newer science.
In 1973, viability was probably 30-something weeks. Now we're down to 22 or 23 weeks. What an amazing difference.
Advancements in prenatal imaging and surgical technology, combined with discoveries in anesthesia for relieving pain, have also been pivotal in ushering in the modern era of fetal surgery.
Imagine this, a surgeon opens a woman's belly, cuts through the wall of her uterus, pulls out her baby with the baby's heart beating, the baby's moving, they anesthetize the baby, operate on the child, and then the mom waits to give birth to hopefully a much healthier baby.
All evidence, many say, can no longer be denied.
This is the truth. This is what science reveals. And so to say otherwise is just simply to ignore the science that's around us today.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Well, we all await the Supreme Court's ruling. It looks like that leaked opinion is the actual opinion. It may have some variations by the time it's published. But then at that point, it goes back to the states, and the states get to decide the law for their particular jurisdiction. Will we see the federal government try to intervene? I think the answer is quite clear. Yes, we will. Nancy Pelosi is already trying to do that. But here's my point, and I will stand on this one. The best culture for America going forward is a culture where mothers welcome their children into the world. Wouldn't it be great that we had a culture that encouraged motherhood, that supported mothers, that gave them plenty of time to bond with their babies, gave them plenty of support so they don't have to worry about the cost, what's going on with it. I mean, wouldn't that be wonderful? Wouldn't that be great to have a culture that does that? Well, let's dream for that, and let's, more than dream, let's achieve it. In other news, a report exposing the failure to respond to sexual abuse in the Southern Baptist Convention. John Jessup has that sad story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Gordon. The SBC's executive committee meets to discuss the report today. Meanwhile, Southern Baptist President Ed Litton spoke with CBN News about the report, and the very first step he says the convention must take to begin making things right. Heather Sells has more.
The report says that abuse survivors and advocates have reached out to top Southern Baptist leaders for almost 20 years. Those leaders, however, met them with, quote, resistance, stonewalling, and even outright hostility.
It's a culture of protecting power and position. It's not a culture that Jesus would model for us of caring for the least of these.
Southern Baptist President Ed Litton says he's shocked, disappointed, and dismayed by the report, which focused on the executive committee. It identified a few staff in control of responding to reports of abuse: General Counsel August Botto and outside counsel Gunther Jordan and Price. The report says they ignored or discounted victims' claims and cited the Baptist principle of church autonomy as their reason for failing to take action.
There were chances, going many years back to do the right thing.
Task Force Chair Bruce Frank says they were wrong to use it as an excuse.
Autonomy is certainly a cherished value, and it is our polity. That is in no means to say you can't have accountability and communication.
Other bombshell revelations, what the report calls credible allegations that former SBC President Johnny Hunt sexually assaulted a pastor's wife, a claim Hunt denies. Also, the existence of an executive committee database with the names of hundreds of abusers. The report said it found no indication that Botto or anyone else took action to remove the accused abusers from their positions of power in SBC churches. The report has rocked the Southern Baptist world and those who've left it. Russell Moore saying the investigation uncovered more evil than even I imagined. Southern Baptist Seminary head Al Mohler saying the weight of truth calls for a concerted determination to make things right. Litton, who is stepping down next month, says that ultimately the report shows who's really in charge of the convention because its messengers called for the independent report.
It's the power of a grassroots people who for 2 days a year gather in the largest deliberative body in the world, and they literally can set the course and direction of that denomination.
Right now, he says the first concern must be for abuse survivors.
They have been brutalized by physical assaults and attacks by people that should have been trustworthy and in the context of churches. But then to face the kind of resistance and sometimes out-and-out attack, according to the report, is unthinkable.
Next month, the convention holds its annual meeting in Anaheim. It will receive this report and decide what next steps to take. Heather Sells, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Heather. The SBC is live streaming the executive committee meeting today at 11 a.m. To find out how you can watch, go to cbnnews.com. Well, turning now to the latest in the war in Ukraine. There's intense fighting in the eastern Donbas region, with Russian forces trying to hold their ground as their offensive appears to be stalled. In the southern port city of Mariupol, Ukrainian authorities digging out the rubble of destroyed buildings say they've discovered at least 200 bodies. Meanwhile, a Russian diplomat to the United Nations has resigned his post over the war, saying he is, quote, ashamed of his country. And the UN now estimates that more than 6.5 million Ukrainians have fled the fighting there. Among those leaving their homeland, a mother and her daughter seeking shelter in Poland. They shared how the violence forced them to flee in a safe place they found with Operation Blessing.
Before the war, Larissa and her family were living peaceful lives in Ukraine. Larissa's daughters, Angelina and Alina, spent their time doing art projects and playing together.
I really love sculpting and drawing. I love it too. And we also like to go for walks on the street.
But the war stole their peace.
For a couple of days, it was scary to even go outside. Every shop was closed. We couldn't find food or even get medical supplies for the injured because Russians didn't allow humanitarian aid to come to us.
I heard bangs and saw how they were dropping bombs and rockets, and the sirens were very loud. We would run to the basement very fast. At night, it was scary.
To keep her children safe, Larissa fled to Poland. When they reached the border, thanks to Operation Blessing donors, Larissa and her children received a warm meal and hygiene supplies to help them on their journey.
I want to thank every volunteer who helped us. All of them asked how they could help us or offered us something to eat. It makes me want to cry, knowing there are people who simply want to help strangers like us.
I like it here very much. I feel calm here.
Thanks to the support of Operation Blessing partners, Larissa and her daughters had a welcoming place to rest after their long journey to Poland. While Angelina and Alina enjoyed the warmth of the tent, they were able to draw and play in a safe space, free of fear.
Among so much pain and disruption, Gordon, it's nice to see those smiling faces.
And it's nice to know that there's been a safe place provided for them that's away from all the terror of this war. If you want to be a part of it, it's all because people like you cared enough to give that we're able to provide that kind of aid to people leaving the war zone. We're also supplying food back into Ukraine from a warehouse in Poland. There are a lot of different centers, Orphan Promise centers, that are still operating in Ukraine. Even in the far eastern side. I mean, there's some in Donetsk and Berdansk that have to be shut down. But we want to help people in their point of need, and we need you to do that. So if you want to be a part of it, all you have to do is call us, 1-800-700-7000. Say, I want to give. I want to be a member of the 700 Club. A portion of every gift you give goes into the work of Operation Blessing to help those in need. And help the disaster zones here in America, the disaster zone that's currently the whole country of Ukraine. You can be a part of it. Call us, 1-800-700-7000.